daily on BloombergQuint.
Joining us now is, well, the perfect person to weigh in on growing global slowdown, increasing geopolitical tensions, Tata Sons Executive Chairman. He is Narayan Chandrasekaran, whose company is present in more than 100 countries across 6 continents. You're in the Middle East, you're in Asia, you're in Europe, you're in, of course, the UK. Your perspective right here also in the US. Where are you worried about in the world? Are you glass half empty, glass half full kind of guy?
No, I think, it's better to be looking at glass full, half full, and then fall forward. Currently, I think the trade tensions is happening in multiple places. You have the US-China issue, you have the Brexit, and then you have the Hong Kong issue, and things are happening in different parts of the globe. The fact of the matter is, technologically, we are getting tightly connected more and more, and nations are getting more protective, and this is going to be the new norm. So I feel it's better to get adjusted, and it's one of the essential skills to operate in this environment for the 21st century.
You do a great job making clear that this is something every executive needs to grapple with. But of those different trouble spots you highlighted, which is the hardest to navigate through, to really get your head around? Because there's so many moving parts, and it's just impossible to call it how it might end up. So you just have to kind of work through it.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's better to have clarity than a desirable result. For example, in Brexit, it's been too long. It's very difficult to keep doing scenario planning for very long. So one needs clarity. Ideally, the situation should be that free movement of goods and people definitely is very important from a supply chain point of view for us, since we have significant investments in the UK. So we're keenly awaiting what's going to happen in the next few days in the UK. From the US-China trade perspective, that's going to affect a lot of people, because China is a very big market, and we have already been affected in our car business because of the major slowdown in China. So we are really looking for that impasse to again end, and then things start looking up.
How difficult can it be, how frustrating can it be that, particularly when in an age of multilateralism, when in an age of technology, we seem to be building up our barriers, we seem to be turning to tariffs and sanctions a lot more rather than open borders and trade. Do you worry that this is a shift for good, or do you think that this is temporary?
I think directionally this shift will continue to go up and down, but the shift is there. It's not that it's going to disappear. Fundamentally, from a physical barrier point of view, you are always going to have tariffs and immigration coming for discussion. From a digital point of view, you're going to have data localization and data privacy. And you've got to adjust to these 4 factors as we move forward. And it'll vary between where your business is based at and how its relationship with the key countries which are your markets. For example, if you're based in India, to do business with the US, business with the UK is one thing, and if you're based in UK, the business with Europe and US, and if you're a Chinese company doing business with the US, I mean, these things keep changing.
They keep changing, but I wonder, do you ever think that there's a chance that the globalization that we've seen, the multilateralism that we've seen, can be restored in any way, or has that just gone forever?
I am an optimist, so over a period of time it will come back, probably. At least I think there will be new rules that will be set, which will make it easier to operate.
Who's going to make the rules?
I think it's the economy will determine at the end of the day.
What about?
US is a very significant player, as you know.
So. Okay, interesting. So for the time, the power resides in the biggest economies for the time being.
Yes.
We want to look a bit at India as well, which of course is where your dominant focus is and where the business has been born. Digital Nation is a book that you've recently co-authored, I think, with your top economist. Yeah. And it's all about how technology can be a force for good, how you can overcome some of the key challenges in India, whether it be not enough women in the workforce, whether it be entrepreneurialism, through technology. Talk to us a little bit about the low-hanging fruit. How many people could be brought on, could be impacted by such moves?
I think the fundamental belief and the premise on which we wrote in the book is it is not AI or people. I think AI and people are going to have to work together.
They're not mutually exclusive.
And they're not mutually exclusive. And it's going to be beneficial for humans to fully leverage AI. So if we deliberately use AI and machine learning and Industrial 4.0, we can make a big difference. Because India has fundamentally two problems. We lack access to essential services like healthcare, like education, and any other expertise. The second area is we have a lot of talent, but lack of jobs. So how do you bridge the gaps using technology? That's why it's called digital, so that we can make a big impact. We have estimated that by focusing on core sectors like healthcare, education, agriculture, we can positively impact 30 million jobs in 5 to 6 years.
When you say impact, what do you mean impact?
There will be two types. Some will be new jobs that will be created. Some that will be jobs that will be upgraded to higher productive levels. Because in every one of these sectors, what you will find is there's a lot of expertise at the top, and there is a lot of low-skilled workers. And the people with the high expertise do not necessarily end up doing the specialist jobs. So some of these tasks have to be shifted down, and new jobs can be created in doing those things.
Really, your company is like a poster child for globalization. It's got a huge footprint, and the scale is massive. You're big in India and Asia, US, Europe, the Middle East. You cover all kinds of sectors: steel, autos, hospitality, IT services, communications, chemicals, tea. I know Caroline was just talking about the tea that she drinks. In Europe alone, 19 Tata companies across this continent with 60,000 plus employees. I want to start with one of the companies that's based in Europe, which is Jaguar Land Rover, because you had mentioned that the U.S.-China trade war is certainly hurting demand for cars in China. And we know that there's been some exploration of strategic options for this car maker as well. Can you give us the current status of JLR and the outlook for its near-term future?
I think the auto sector globally is going through multiple challenges. First is change in technology. All of them have to adopt to shared mobility, autonomous, huge investments in capital. The second one, they've got to adjust to the new carbon emission norms, the CAFE norms, and the third one is the geopolitical environment. So this is a set of challenges that you've got to go through over the next 2 to 3 years. JLR has fundamentally a very strong brand, and it has got a very successful range of products. So at this point in time, we are calibrating our investments. We just have to make sure that we are able to make the kind of investments that we can make, and only make what is necessary, so that we are keeping an eye on the financial performance of the company, at the same time not shying away from making the investments that we make. And we are looking for partnerships. We announced a partnership with BMW. So similarly, we are looking for other partnerships. And these are things that we will do. But fundamentally, we are making the transition.
It's not just cars that you're in. Of course, Tata Motors, you're in public transport, you're in vans. You interestingly have a partnership with China when it comes to Tata Motors. How easy or how difficult is it making partnerships in China? Are you optimistic that China is going to open up more, be easier to do business in on a standalone basis?
Yeah, I think, we have experience in China. We have our IT services company in China, TCS, which is doing quite well in China. And Jaguar Land Rover has had a successful joint venture and has been performing well over the last several years. But last couple of years has been a struggle because our market share has dropped dramatically and volumes have collapsed, partly due to the economy, significantly due to the economy. So this is an area that we need to continue to look at, because China is a very important market where Range Rovers have been hugely successful. So we also have local production in China because that market is very different. The product that we need to sell in that market is very different from what we sell in other parts of the globe. So we import certain products, we make certain products domestically. But China is important from a Jaguar Land Rover perspective. At the same time, we've got to go through this transition of moving to new economy.
And of course, transition is everywhere. Let's talk a little bit about Tata Steel, because Europe rejected the ThyssenKrupp joint venture deal, and this is something you're trying to streamline here. So are there any other prospective partners, or would you consider holding on to the unit now?
See, there are two things. One is we have brought a lot of focus in expanding Tata Steel in India. So our capacity in domestic market, we have increased from 13 million tons in the last 5 years. The last couple of years, we've gone to 18 million tons, and we will double the capacity to go to 24 million tons in the next 21-22. So that is a very profitable business, high margin business, and we'll continue to expand in India. And in Europe, we have to continue to watch. Currently, we are trying to make it cash neutral. So we don't want to be investing money from the money that we make in India to make up for the losses in UK and Europe. So we are focused on that, and we've got to see what other opportunities come.
Opportunities still to come. A man whose glass is half full, Tata Sons Executive Chairman. Wonderful to have you with us.